Charles Leclerc was born into a family that loved racing, as he was born and raised in Monaco, where Formula One has raced ever since the birth of the sport all the way back in 1950. Leclerc had the late Jules Bianchi as his godfather, who was a Formula One driver before he tragically passed away in 2014 whilst doing what he loved. Ever since that day, Charles Leclerc wanted to get to Formula One so he could race for Jules, but also to race in the streets where he used to walk and go to school. He is the only driver from Monaco on the grid right now in Formula One, and he is loved by his home fans and everyone who wants him to do well when he is driving in the streets of Monte Carlo. However, his luck has not been the best at his home Grand Prix so far in his Formula One career, where he has been very unfortunate every single year. In today's video, we will be talking a bit about each year of Leclerc's races in Monaco from 2018 all the way up to 2023, where he was once again unlucky. Let's get straight into the action. Leclerc would drive for the first time in Formula One in his home Grand Prix in 2018. After racing in the junior formulas for so long in Monaco, Leclerc would come into the race driving for Alfa Romeo Sauber and would start on the grid in P14, beating his teammate, and it isn't that bad for a start of his first time coming to the streets as he walked as a kid, as he could make up some positions in the race. However, that would not happen, and whilst he was outside the points in P12, he would try and go for a move on Hartley down into one of the limited overtaking opportunities at the Norville chicane. Unfortunately for Leclerc, his front left brake disc failed, which meant he could not slow the car down and went straight into the back of Hartley, causing both of them to DNF from the race. This was something that was completely out of Leclerc's hands, and that will become a theme of the video as we keep going on. So 2018 wasn't the best start to him driving at his home Grand Prix. Moving swiftly onto 2019, where Leclerc would join Ferrari and had a good chance of having a very good result from the weekend. We would get to qualifying with all of the home fans supporting Leclerc, but to the surprise and shock of everyone at the track and at home, he was knocked out in Q1. You may think that this was some sort of error from Leclerc, but the team were the one at fault for having such a dreadful starting spot on the grid come Sunday, in a race where it's hard to overtake. He would ask his team if he was safe into Q2, and the team said they thought he was, but they really didn't give him the definitive answer. He didn't set a final time, whilst most of the grid did, meaning he would start in P16. The race would get no better for him, as he would attempt to make a move on Hulkenberg. He would clip the wall, causing a spin and a right rear puncture. He would fall to the back of the pack and cause so much damage to his floor and the car that he had to retire from the race and would yet again take home no points. Well, not the best year, you could say. We now move on to 2022, as we didn't have a race in Monaco in 2020 due to some sort of pandemic that was going on. 2021 would be a year where Ferrari was in a position to get a podium, but it would be very hard for them to get a win due to the pace of the Mercedes and Red Bull. Leclerc would come into qualifying with a lot of hope due to the race before that in Baku. He took home a pole position. He would be on the provisional pole going into the final push lap for all the drivers in Q3. Verstappen and other drivers were pushing to try and take pole off Leclerc, but they would not get the chance. Leclerc would have a crash at the very end of qualifying, which meant that a red flag would come out, but he would stay on pole, so it's very good for the home favourite. Due to the damage he sustained in the accident, the team inspected and looked into the focus on the gearbox, but that was okay, and everything from where the impact happened on the right hand side of the car looked fine, and he was going to start on pole and hopefully win the race. However, on the outlap to the grid, a failure on the left drive shaft of his Ferrari was found due to the team simply not checking that side of the car, as he had made no impact to the barriers on the left side. It was all on the right. The damage was too much, and the team would not be able to fix in time for him to start on pole position, and this meant that Leclerc would not be able to start the race. Heartbreak for Leclerc, as he did do the crash and was responsible for the damage to his car, but the team did not fully check his car, resulting in him having a DNS. Another year of the Monaco curse, where he would not be able to see the checker flag. However, that would change in 2022. Leclerc came into the race as the favourite, as the Ferrari was the fastest car, and many thought that this would be the year he would finish the race, but also win it. He would have a perfect weekend, and with the lineup in pole position after Perez helped him in having a crash of his own to make qualifying come to an end earlier, just like Leclerc did the previous year. He would have a solid race until the pit stops would happen, and due to the track being wet and the strategy was different for many, Sainz was ahead, but on a different strategy than Leclerc. For some reason, the team would decide to bring both of the drivers in at the same time, with Sainz Sainz taking his pit stop first, whilst Leclerc would have to wait for a significant amount of time, which really cost him. Not only was he now behind Sainz, as the team did not allow Leclerc to keep going, he was behind both Perez and Verstappen and was now in P4. He would go on to finish the race, but he had an easy win taken away from him, and he was even able to stand on the podium at all due to the disaster at Ferrari. The Monaco curse of him not finishing at the race had ended, but the curse of him having a bad race in the streets of Monte Carlo continued, and once again, it was not his fault, but Ferrari's, making it 3 years in a row where Ferrari would have some influence in Charles Leclerc having a good home race that he deserves. We would come to the most recent installment of the Leclerc curse at Monaco in 2023, where it would be more painful for the Monaco man. The Ferrari this season is very on and off, and sometimes it's quick enough for pole, and sometimes it's nowhere compared to the Red Bull and Aston Martin. In Monaco, Leclerc looked quick, but it would be a tough ask for him to get the win. He would provisionally start in P3 at the end of qualifying, which was solid for him, but he was just over a tenth off pole. Whilst he was on a slow lap in the tunnel, Norris would be on a fast lap, and the team did not tell Leclerc about this, and he would be given a 3-place grid penalty for impeding Norris. In Monaco, the team has to help the drivers in telling them who was around them at all times, and Ferrari would yet again stop Leclerc from probably taking home a podium for the first time. In the race, the pace was not there for the Ferrari, and he would stay in P6, where he probably should have had a podium if the team had just told him that Lando was behind him in the tunnel, which is just so narrow. Leclerc's look at his home race is just not good at all, but we all hope that in 2024 that changes and he can get on the podium, or have a win, or just have a weekend where his team does not do some damage. Or has Leclerc always going to have this curse every time he comes to Monaco driving a Formula 1 car? Let us know your thoughts and feelings about Leclerc's bad luck in Monaco. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this one.